Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
And then the Breeze newspaper came up. It was actually started in 2009 by a couple living in Bridgewater, New Jersey. And they were looking to retire and move to a different kind of life. And they knew me from Patch, and I had been covering things that they were at, and we met and we spoke, and they offered me the opportunity. And so after some thinking and some soul searching and saying, can I really run a newspaper all by myself? I took it on. And so I became the owner of the Breeze newspaper.
This is Small Press, Big Ideas, a podcast about the business of local news in the United States. I'm your host, Paul Gewertz. Small Press, Big Ideas is about the opportunities and challenges that local news publishers are facing for their businesses. I'll sit down and talk with journalists, entrepreneurs, nonprofit leaders, and more in the local news industry to find out what's working, what isn't, and how the local news ecosystem can innovate and flourish in the 21st century. All right, today on the podcast, I am joined by Audrey Blumberg, who's the owner, publisher of a few publications, The Breeze, the CHronicle, and TAPinto Flemington Raritan in New Jersey. And yeah, I've been following Audrey on LinkedIn for a while and thought I'd reach out to have her on. So Audrey, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate you being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So just for the audience, could you just, and myself, because we just met, could you just give us a little background on kind of your career in local media, your background, even, your life, your career, and in your own words, I'd love to hear that.
Sure. So I'm a journalist by trade. I graduated with a journalism degree, and then really my whole career has been in local news. So I worked for a company called Packet Publications, and they were 11 weekly newspapers in central New Jersey. And I was the government reporter for 2 of them. So in 2 separate towns, I covered all the government meetings and police and fire and all of that. And I did that for 3 years, and there were issues as local news was starting to be a bit of a problem, and people were canceling subscriptions to newspapers and things like that. So we were doing our best to keep the local news going. And then from there, I moved to Patch Media, which was owned by AOL for a while. And that was my transition from print to digital. And so I was the manager of the Bridgewater Patch website in central New Jersey. And I launched that one, and that gave me the chance to not only be the writer but to also be the editor and to be in charge of what went on the site and to manage all of the editorial side of it. I wasn't the business side, I was just editorial. They had other business people, so I was doing that site for a while. And then I got a couple other sites when they started to expand. And so there were a couple other towns in Somerset County, New Jersey, that I was in charge of and partnered with others to work on. So I did that for another 3 years. And then the Breeze newspaper came up. It was actually started in 2009 by a couple living in Bridgewater, New Jersey. And they were looking to retire and move to a different kind of life. And they knew me from Patch, and I had been covering things that they were at, and we met and we spoke, and they offered me the opportunity. And so after some thinking and some soul searching and saying, can I really run a newspaper all by myself? I took it on. And so I became the owner of the Breeze newspaper. And they had a WordPress website, which was fine at the time. That was 2013. But the newspaper is a monthly paper. And as everybody knows in local news, a lot happens in that month.
Mm-hmm.
By the time the paper comes out, it's completely outdated, whether it's police news or whatever it is. And so I wanted a way to bring people the news inside that month. And I found TAP. And so I was like, oh, here's a good opportunity for me to have the paper so people still get the prints, but also to be able to post things more frequently, more photo galleries, more, breaking news and all that. So I joined TAP. And so we had the TAPinto Bridgewater Raritan website, which mirrored the paper. I mean, they shared a lot of stories. They still share a lot of stories. But again, I could expand further on Tap. And then in 2019, I took on the TAPinto Flemington Raritan site in Hunterdon County, New Jersey. And I did that with a partner for a while. And then this past year, we parted ways. And so I took on the site. And then last September, I started a newspaper there too.
Wow, very cool. Are the Breeze and the other paper, are you still doing print also?
Yes.
Yeah, you are? Interesting. That's not what I expected when I saw that you were kind of like a TAPinto franchisee. I don't know what the terminology is or whatever. I kind of assumed like you were in local media and you decided to go out on your own, but that's interesting that you kind of acquired the paper and then, because for anybody listening who doesn't know TAPinto, they offer kind of back-end support and the build out of the site and everything. And you can go listen to I have a couple episodes with Mike Shapiro where he kind of goes into that more. But that's interesting way to bring it on. Like you said, a lot happens in a month. And I think TAPinto, I think you're supposed to I think that it's more of a daily cadence or weekly or something like that. So
daily.
That's interesting. So what's the organization look like? I know that you're the owner of a few, like what's like the staff size of each one? Or do you have like overlapping kind of, functionalities between like people working for you, between the sites or anything? How's that all work?
So I'm the owner operator of the 2 newspapers and then the franchisee for the 2 websites. I am staff.
Gotcha.
But then I have a team of freelancers that work with me. So we have 5 freelance writers who cover individual beats in the different towns because there's the 2 sites and the 2 papers, it's a total of 5 different towns with government meetings and with all of that, and then another 4 Board of Educations with their own meetings and all that stuff going on. So I have this team of freelance reporters who each have a beat that they cover, whether it's the municipal government or the Board of Education. And then I have 3 freelance photographers who go to the big events and the school plays and the football games and all of that, and they take all the photos. So it's me doing the editing and the layout and the advertising and all of that. And then this team that makes it stay afloat.
Gotcha.
What's the content?
I'm not super familiar with like the geography of New Jersey. Are all these towns pretty in a tight kind of corridor together geographically? Yeah. So the Bridgewater, Raritan, they're in Somerset County. And then the other towns, Flemington and Raritan and Reddington, they're in Hunterdon County. So they're in adjacent counties. Okay. I guessed that, but I wasn't sure. Cool. So we've talked about TAPinto a few times. And like I said, I've had Mike on the podcast a few times, and he's spoken in depth on his end of building the business and what they provide for publishers. But I'm curious for anybody listening, like what does that look like on your side? Like what do they provide? How does that work for you? If you could expand on that a little bit.
Sure. So the biggest thing that I saw when I first came on was that they were providing the back end support. I will freely admit I know nothing about website design. Absolutely nothing. I tried. I did not understand the coding, and that's not my brain. So the first thing that I saw was that they're providing all of that to me, and if there's a system error, they can help fix it. And if there's something that I don't understand how to fix on the look of it, they can help me. So that was a big thing for me. They do the design of the site, the overall design, and then I fill it up and I make it look how I want it to look and which sections I want where and all of that. But if the site goes down, if there are changes to be made, if there are updates to be made, that's all them. And that was a huge draw for me. But once here, working by myself, I didn't have a support team of people. If I'm writing a story and I really need another set of eyes on this, or I need to know if I'm being neutral enough, if I need to get some more comments, if I've made sense in whatever. And so that team has been nice. There's a director of content who I can go to and say, hey, can you just take a look at this? Tell me if what I wrote makes sense. Tell me if somebody who is new to this would understand what I wrote. So that's a huge help. And then the other thing is that there's a team of other reporters, editors. We share stories with each other. When my sports team plays another town sports team, we don't both have to send people. We can share it. And then we get a uniform story. We get uniform photos. When there's something going on countywide, we can share that. And that way, again, we get a uniform story with the correct information, with, the appropriate information. We'll put it that way. So on my end, the support is what's been really helpful for me. Both advertising, because we can share advertisers across the network, and just when I need help with something as a sole business owner, it's nice to have that extra support when I need it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of it, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think they've been building it out for some 20 odd years or something like that, so I'm sure it's pretty robust by this point.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, in terms of the business, if I recall talking to Mike, and it might be different because you have papers, but so it's mostly ad supported, right? Is that the main kind of revenue lever for you? And so, and I know you can share advertisers across the network, which I'm sure is a help. But what goes into kind of like funding the paper? Is it just boots on the ground, relationships, finding people like that? Do they help you with a media kit at all, TAPinto? Or how's all that stuff work?
Yeah, so TAPinto has a full media kit that has the pricing and all of that, and we put that all together. And you can customize that for your own area based on, the types of businesses you have in your own town, or the types of people that are calling or that are reaching out to you. But there's standard pricing that goes across the network, and then we adjust as needed based on who we're talking to. Sometimes you talk to a nonprofit and they may not have as much money as the big department store down the street or the mom and pop shop and things like that. So we look at it as this is standard rates. And then, you are the boots on the ground. So your town, your areas, you're talking to them, so you figure it out. And it's the same thing I do with the paper, because paper is fully advertising funded also, both papers. And so, I have my rate card and I have my rates, and these are my rates, but I understand that one size does not fit all, especially in business. So we have conversations, and I've created packages that extend both print and digital, so that if clients want to try both options, I can work with them within their means and really get to know the people I'm working with. You have conversations with so many different people, and they need so many different kinds of things. Like I'm working with a law firm, and what they need is they need to tell their story. And so we can offer them that side of things with content options. And then I have another business that just wanted, let me show this display ad, and this is who I am. And that's great. And so I can work with them both print and digital to get them what they need to get the word out.
That's cool. And I know it's digital and print in two cases at least. Are there any other, do you have anything else? There's podcasts, social, anything like that going out? How's that all work?
We have a daily e-newsletter that goes out. That goes out when you have news stories the day before, so pretty much every day. We do things like e-blasts, individualized emails that go out to the subscriber list. That's just the advertiser. We do social media posts and everything. We have Facebook. I haven't used X very much because I didn't get as many subscribers on there. Most of them come on through Facebook or the newsletter. But that's social media. That's where we go. It's hard to do things like Instagram because it's just photos.
Right.
So when I cover an event, it makes sense, but I can't link you back to the article, which then doesn't actually bring you to my site, which doesn't really do me or the advertisers any good.
Local media publishers. You're already creating valuable local content. But what if I told you you're leaving serious money on the table every single week? Many local media outlets are only monetizing part of their inventory. Your stories are amazing and important to your communities, but they live and die on the page or in social. That means your ad space is maxed out, even though your content isn't. That's where localpod.co comes in. We turn your existing content into branded, automated podcasts with no extra work from your team. And we help you sell brand new audio ad inventory that didn't exist before. That means more ad revenue, deeper audience engagement, and zero added production time. If you're a local or niche publisher and want to grow your revenue without adding to your workload, go to localpod.co and book a free call. That's localpod.co. All right, back to the episode.
Yeah, Instagram is very favorable to video these days, and video is hard to do on a daily reporting cadence for sure, unless you're to the scale where you can have a full-time person doing it or something like that.
Yeah,
I've heard
certain
that.
events lead to it, but
yeah, I've heard that a lot. So I'm curious. So you've been running these for a while, 12 years for one, at least from the sounds of it. And there's been a lot of change in the tech space over the past couple of years. So I apologize. This has to come up on every podcast. I'd like to get your thoughts on AI and if you're using any tools or anything like that, or just general thoughts on that. because it's all over the place with local publishers that I talk to. So I'd love to get your take.
I'll say I'm not a fan. I think there's a place for it. I think that, we just heard a presentation the other day talking about AI and how you can use it. And I understand that there's ways to use it when it's just like a press release or something like that. There's ways to set things so that you don't have to sit and retype the press release or, you can make that work. But I think in regular journalism, I don't think there's a place for it at this point. That may change in the future. I don't know. But right now, I think what makes journalism and local news what it is the person on the ground talking to the people.
Mm-hmm.
Being available to ask follow-up questions, listening to what they have to say, and really getting a sense of who the people are so that you can expand on their world and know what matters to them. I mean, one of the towns, there's a lot of redevelopment going on. They are redeveloping their entire main street with this big project that's going to have apartments and businesses and things like that. And we did a whole story speaking to the other businesses on Main Street and saying, how do you think this will affect you? Is this going to bring more business for you? Are you concerned? Are you excited? And I don't think you get that without a real person.
Yeah.
People were excited to talk to us about that and to tell us, we're looking forward to it because it's going to bring more people to Main Street and therefore they're going to see our shops. And these are all mom and pop shops. Some really cool ones. I like owning them myself. But you have to have a person who is listening to them and is talking to them and is following up with, I don't want to say feeling questions because we try not to be biased when we write, but who are really there for the business owners and there for the residents and there for the officials and everybody else. They have to be listening and they have to be paying attention. And I'm not convinced you're going to get that yet.
Yeah.
With how AI is right now, it could change in the future, and I'm open to watching it change. But I think the real push or the real draw of local journalism and local news is those people who are there in your community. And
yeah.
who are people.
I agree. That's kind of the point of local media in general, And I've had some, because, I'm open to a lot of the stuff. I use AI in my business, and most of the use cases I've seen in local media, like the people that are thinking about it in the right way, none of them are using it to actually produce content. It's more, from what I've seen, it's like speeding up slow processes on the back end. You know what I mean? I put up a post this morning where there's some transcription tools that help, like, just an example I thought of that I saw recently, some transcription tools where you can basically record a city council meeting and just collect all the information. And then your reporter can easily parse it, stuff like that, speeding it up. I think that's where more of the space that I get excited about is. And, but actually writing it or like talking to people, I don't think that's going to happen for a long ways away. But and
I used that once to transcribe a meeting just so I could get written down. I was watching the video of it and there was some video issues and whatnot. And I got the transcription of it just to see what would happen. And, I was going to write the story myself, but just to see what the transcription looked like. And it was, they took 40 pages of minutes down to whatever it was. And I'm going through it. I'm like, all right, well, it's pointing out the things that happened. But what ends up happening is it focuses too much on things that may not be important if you're actually listening. I mean, I found that just because a city council spends a lot of time talking about something, that doesn't mean it's as important as the resident who came up and was the only person to speak on an issue.
Right.
And you only get that by listening to the meeting, whether it's on the video or whatever it is. You have to get the sense of what's happening by being in that moment. We just had a Board of Ed meeting, and a lot of people came up to talk on a lot of different topics in public comment, and only 2 people spoke on one issue. And we're doing a story on it because it's an issue that's of importance to a large section of the community. Maybe more will come and talk later, but the transcription would have picked up a little bit of it, but would have focused on something else that was not quite as important. Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I have to get everybody's take on it because it's all over the chessboard, how people are using it. But I do want to hammer home to the audience. I have yet to come across anybody. Well, there's some scammy businesses out there doing like 1 million newsletters or whatever, but nobody's reading those anyway, really. But most of the local media orgs I see, they're using it for other than content creation, just like tools to speed up their processes and stuff. So cool.
Yes. And make sure we get things right. I mean, the one good thing with the transcription is if you're trying to get an exact quote, sometimes you miss a word here and there. That's where you'll get it.
Yeah, it's pretty good at that. It's pretty good at that
Yeah.
stuff because I transcribe most of my calls just from my own notes and stuff, and it's pretty good. I'm like, when did so and so talk about this thing? And it'll find it for me, and then I can read it, and then I can also listen to it to make sure it's correct. So
Yeah, that's helpful.
yeah,
Just
definitely.
That's the one thing, we must get those quotes correct.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just-
for sure.
There's nothing more important.
So if I like to ask this to a lot of people because local media had a rough go last couple decades. I'm optimistic that there are new models and ways to turn it around from a sustainability standpoint. But I like to ask people just to see how their minds are working. If you suddenly had an unlimited budget or say a greatly inflated budget with no strings attached, what's something you'd try? Something maybe unconventional that you'd try with your publications?
I was thinking about this question.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think what if there's something unconventional that I would do. And the most important thing that I came up with, and it's going to sound conventional, and I apologize.
That's okay.
I would get a full-time staff.
That makes sense.
It's the one thing that we're seeing in journalism, and I've watched with my friends and things, is they're cutting staff across the board. And the one thing that I've always said, well, my model works because, number one, I go to every home, so there's no subscriptions. But number two, I'm a one-woman show. And so while I have freelancers and could not do this without them, I want to make that very clear. I could not do this without them.
Yeah.
I'm the sole employee, right? And so to think of what I could do if I could bring these people on staff, and if I could take the people who have been doing an incredible amount of work already, just as freelance, and say, look, I can give you now a full job, and you can do some editing too, and I love doing layouts, so maybe I'll just stick with that. And I could bring on an advertising staff, sales staff to go boots on the ground, because I do some of it, but there's only 24 hours in a day, and I can only be in so many places at once, and I have a family at home too. And so if I had unlimited, I would hire a staff. I would bring these people on, and I think the possibility, I started the second newspaper because I thought the possibilities were endless, and I still believe that I have been a firm believer for 13 years that this monthly newspaper with a daily website model is a fabulous model.
Yeah.
I can't take credit for starting the first paper. I bought it, but I am a full believer in no subscription. Just give it to every single home in town, and it goes to every home, which for the Breeze is just under 22,000 homes. And you get it. I know I can't guarantee every single person's going to open it up and read through the entire thing, although with the number of people who tell me they do, maybe they do. But I can guarantee you it's going to every home. And so the news that you need and the features on these people are going to every single home. And then I can also give you a website so that, when there's traffic on this road, I can tell you why. And I can tell you avoid that area. And I can tell you, the township is going to be voting on this tonight. You might want to go to the meeting. And so I am a firm believer in this model. And that's why I started the second paper, because I see how well it works and I see how much people are starved for it.
Mm-hmm.
There was another paper in that area where I am in Hunterdon County, and it had to shut down. People were angry. I mean, they wanted it very badly. They were talking about it, and I said, well, I'm already there. I might as well bring the print side too. They want it. They're going to read it. Let's do it. So if I could bring on a bigger staff and expand even more to certain areas, especially in Hunterdon County, they don't have a lot of print in there, and we have 2 TAP sites in Hunterdon County, but there's always room for more. We have the south area of the county that's not covered yet. There's a couple areas in Somerset County. We have about 8 TAP sites in Somerset County, but there's a couple areas that we haven't yet been able to cover because we're still, we're always looking for new people. If I could help bridge that gap and bring in more people, I would love to do it. I think as much as we say that print is dying, I just believe that there is a place for it. And I believe that people want it. And if I could have unlimited funds to do it, I would immediately.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, that's a great answer. And I've seen these like kind of signs around because I follow a lot of the stuff that print is making a comeback in some areas. I had a lady on the podcast who runs a site called Planeta Venus. It serves the Spanish-speaking community in Wichita, Kansas. And she started as an online radio station and then digital. And then the Spanish-speaking community in Wichita, they were like begging her for print. And like, so she's like, okay, I'll expand it to print. And they love it. They love just reading it. And another thing, like just going to every home, like you said, with the print edition. And Jonathan Keeling on here, he's from the Institute for Nonprofit News. Because I was just looking at a video I did with him, and he said something like, the dirty secret of local news was always that, not everybody's a news hawk, but, that newspaper shows up and you're like, oh, you see the local high school score, or you see some cool event that you want to go to, and then you're perusing, and then you're reading about what city council voted on, and then you're more informed and everything. So it's really important like that.
And that's what we do. I mean, on page 8 of both papers, I have the community calendar, and I've got the list of, what's going on in certain places and, flea markets and this and that, whatever. And then I have in both papers a listing of all the library programs that are going on for that month. So we have those little things. And then the front page is always, hopefully, depending on what's going on that month, some kind of photo gallery or some kind of something. And then we do sports in the back. And, families like seeing their kids in the paper. And a lot that's where I get my feature stories from. Parents calling me and saying, hey, my kid won this award or started this. I've had a lot of kids who started nonprofits recently or things like that. And it's like, let's write about them.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And families like seeing that. And the kids like seeing that. The number of the high school kids who work with me. It's been great. I mean, I do, and I did, when I was in high school, my local paper did this too. They had a page just for the high school newspaper.
Nice.
And
that's cool.
Some of our stories. That's
Yeah.
how I was published first. We'd get some of our stories and they would put it in there. And it was our weekly paper. And so I do that with the high school here. I publish a couple of their stories every month. And it's things that I would not necessarily go to or they couldn't invite me to because of, rules and things like that. But it gives a little insight into the community and it's the kids writing it. And they love it.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Okay, so I've gone through most of my questions. I did want to ask you one other thing. Is there any significance to the spelling of some of your publications? Like, for instance, The Breeze is the BR is both capitalized and the Chronicles, the CH are both capitalized? Just for my own curiosity, I was wondering. Yeah.
So the Breeze, BR is Bridgewater Raritan.
Okay.
2 towns, they're separate municipalities, but they share a school district.
I see.
So their saying is we are BR.
I see.
So
okay.
BR. And then for the Chronicle, the 3 towns that I cover, they go to Hunterdon Central High School. So I was playing on the Central Hunterdon.
Gotcha. And stuck with the branding. I like it. I was just curious. I'm like, there's got to be some kind of meaning behind that. So I wanted to ask just to pique my own curiosity. Great. Audrey, this has been great. Can you tell people if people can find you online or anything you'd like me to link to or promote your websites?
Sure.
I'll do all your websites and everything as well.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
The websites are at thebreezenj.com for Bridgewater Raritan and thechroniclenj.com for the Chronicle, and it links directly to the TAP sites. And that's where I am. I mean, we have both sites have Facebook pages. I'm personally on LinkedIn, as you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where I found you. Yeah. Awesome. I'll link to all that. And everybody go check it out. And Audrey, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time. This is fun.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Have a good day.
You too. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Small Press Big Ideas. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to help the show, the best thing you can do is to tell a friend or colleague and just take a few minutes to leave a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening to right now. It only takes a minute out of your day, but it really does help the podcast grow and reach more ears. Check back for new episodes every Monday.